And welcome to the Allen Crowe Memorial 100 at the Springfield, Illinois State Fairgrounds. I'm Ray Dunlap along with Ron Drager. Here's a look at your SK Tools field summary. Scotty Sands, Jim Hurlburt, and Mike Buckley will be at the back of the starting pack today. Randy Huffman and Chris Patterson both blowing their motors.
36 starter today, Jerry Huffman from Maroa, Illinois. Dennis English, the Kentucky driver, 35th. Mark Thompson, 34th. Billy Thomas, winner last year at DuQuoin, starts 33rd. Andy Farr and Jeff McClure up there in 32nd and 31st starting positions here at the Illinois State Fairgrounds.
Mike Fry back in ARCA competition, starting his number 4 car 30th. David Boggs in the number 76 car today. Kurt Dickey from Windsor, Ontario, starts 28th. Chet Blanton back in the 00, and we see Jim Elliott, a good dirt racer, and the return once again of Mark Anderson in the number 6 car. He'll be starting 25th today on the field.
Moving up through the grid, the 12th row is Michael Benjamin and Frank Kimmel. Kimmel, of course, the 1992 Rookie of the Year. Todd Kuhn and Rich Hayes will be there in the 11th row. Roger Blackstock and Eric Smith. And Eric having some good runs lately in Cleve Smith's Southtown Wreckers Ford.
Eric Smith from just up the road in Bloomington, Illinois, so probably a lot of fans on hand today to root for the car number 9. The grid starts to roll off here, and you see Bobby Bowser taking off there along with Bob Hill. As we look up through the starting lineup, Marvin Smith in the Riverside Auto Parts number 1, Perry Tripp in number 33, John Gill making a start today in Tom Bigelow's ride. That's car number 8. Bill Venerini in car number 25. The Pedigree Food for Dogs Chevrolet is Dave Weltmeyer. He'll start 14th today in number 39, and Glenn Brewer will be starting 13th.
Picking up the 6th row, it's Ken Rowley from El Paso, Illinois, and Steve Kosiski from Omaha, Nebraska. Steve, a veteran of the Busch All-Star Late Model Tour NASCAR sanctioned series. Ed Dixon in car number 50. It's his first ARCA Supercar start, and Dick Taylor in Cleve Smith's other Ford Thunderbird. And they're in 7th position. It's Bob Keselowski, 8th Donnie LeDuc. Bob Keselowski has done very well here in the past.
Gary Bradbury starts 6th today in the number 78 car. Jody Guerra from Dayton, Ohio will be in the 13 car, goes off 5th. 4th is John Wilkinson from Hueytown, Alabama, and Dean Roper starting today in Kenny Schrader's AC Delco Oldsmobile car number 52. Bobby Bowser, a former winner here at Springfield, Illinois, went to victory lane just 2 years ago in this race. And Bob Hill in the number 46 car today. That's owned by Larry Clement. And Ron, we got to make a call to Bob Hill. This guy has been on the pole 3 times in the last 4 dirt races for the ARCA Supercar Series.
Bob Hill on the pole for this event in 1993. He comes back and another pole here at the Illinois State Fairgrounds. Let's not forget he was also the pole sitter just a couple of weeks ago at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. So these mile dirt tracks are very good to Bob Hill. He's starting on the inside of the front row. Bobby Bowser, who has been nearly untouchable in 1994, he's on the outside in the red and white car number 21.
Last year here at Springfield, when Bob Hill sat on the pole, it was in the car that starts 3rd today with Dean Roper driving it. Dean Roper, an 8-time winner on dirt in the ARCA Supercar Series. So we'll keep our eye on that front couple of rows. And John Wilkinson, certainly an incredible run for this guy today from Hueytown, Alabama, starting the number 59 car in 4th starting position. We're just about ready to get the green flag.
Best ever qualifying run for Wilkinson. Jody Guerra and Gary Bradbury in row 3. Not normally known for their dirt expertise, but very good here today. And there's Bob Hill jumping out front going into the first turn. Outside Bobby Bowser, and then it's Roper. John Wilkinson falls in behind the veteran Dean Roper.
A lot of cars side by side as they go through turns 1 and 2. This is where they'll sort it out a little bit going down that back straightaway. The car's up to speed for the first time in today's racing action. Roper makes a move on Wilkinson. He steps it up into 3rd position, and here comes Hill. He's on the inside of Bobby Bowser.
Bob Hill looking to the inside. He'll keep that front position. Bob Hill is your leader. Bobby Bowser now moving in the outside, and Bowser looks good. Ray looks good on the outside there. Again, don't forget he's a winner here. Oh, Roper's out of shape.
Dean Roper over in turn number 3. I believe he's out of control. Yes, he will make contact with the wall down there in turn number 1. The car number 52, the AC Delco Oldsmobile, owned by Kenny Schrader. And Ron, this is the last guy you would ever imagine losing control in the early part of the race here. Dean Roper crashing in turn 1.
Well, he may be able to get that refired, Ray. Not sure right now. He did impact the concrete. There's Henry Wetzel, the starter, with a caution flag out.
So the yellow is out for the first time here at Springfield today, and Jerry Huffman has looped the number 36 up in turn 4 at the same time Roper did. And we'll be back after these messages at Springfield, Illinois. Perhaps the distance of today's race here on the 1-mile dirt track at Springfield, Illinois. We're at the Illinois State Fairgrounds. A beautiful day today, Ron. A nice temperature. Seems like the weather's going to be good for these cars. Hopefully we won't have as much overheating problem as we have had in the past here at Springfield. Bob Hill is out front right now as we get ready to go back to racing after Dean Roper crashed early on in the race. I wonder, you have to wonder if there was a problem with that race car for him to be out this early.
That's a good race car. It's a car that Kenny Schrader won the race at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. Came back at I-70, and Dean Roper's son, Tony, put it on the pole for the I-70 race. Ken Schrader was having a great run with it when a suspension problem forced him out, but it's not like a veteran like Dean Roper to just drive off the end of the racetrack, so yes, you would suspect some kind of a problem with that race car.
So as we get back to green flag racing right now, the 52 car has gone to the pits. We'll have to see if they're able to repair that car and get Roper back out into the race. Some good racing down the backstretch right now as we see Glenn Brewer making a move up there on Dick Taylor. Ron, we look through the field here, and we have to make a call to some of the drivers that are not necessarily weekly competitors on the ARCA series, but they do come out for these dirt races. A lot of those drivers here today.
Oddly enough, the guys running up front right now, other than Bob Hill, are the weekly guys chasing points. It's Bobby Bowser, the point leader, and Gary Bradbury. He runs third. Bradbury has never run an ARCA race on dirt prior to the Indiana State Fairgrounds a couple of weeks ago, but we're talking about guys that are regulars here at the mile dirt tracks. A guy like Ken Rowley. Ken Rowley has won poles and he's led races here at Springfield and also at DuQuoin. He's one of the real tough competitors when you come over to this area. You think about guys like that just come to these shows, the Huffman brothers, Randy and Jerry, and Jim Hurlburt and Jim Elliott, guys like that. And we're looking for those guys to have a good run here today too.
One of the drivers that won't have an opportunity to get up there and race with them is the car number 8 of John Gill. He's gone to the garage area also. The report is motor troubles on car number 8.
A guy who's missing from today's field, but who has indicated he's very interested in coming back, is Steve Drake. He and his car owner, Kent Collins, don't have a car right now that's eligible to run as the Monte Carlo body style was outlawed, but they're saying they're going to be back, hopefully even as early as DuQuoin. Now we take a look back up front here, and that black car, as you see it picking off spots and moving up, that's Bob Keselowski. Keselowski certainly no stranger to this Illinois State Fairgrounds track. The red and blue car, number 55, that's Donnie LeDuc, and he's having a great run here for the mile dirt track. He's not normally known for running that strong here.
Bill Venturini putting a little bit of a bumper up on Dickie Taylor right there in the number 91. This car may look a little bit familiar to many of the ARCA fans because it's one of the backup cars from the Southtown Motorsports crew, and that's one that Eric Smith has driven. Dickie Taylor running in the top 10 right now here at the Illinois State Fairgrounds.
Cleve Smith, the car owner on those cars, is Southtown Motorsports Fords, and Cleve is a veteran. He was an ARCA driver in the late 60s, early 70s, and a two-car effort here. He wants to give his son Eric the best possible shot at running well in these events. They were very optimistic coming into the Indiana State Fairgrounds and Springfield and DuQuoin races, and Cleve has steadily climbed up the ladder this year in car owner points, along with the efforts of Gary Weinbrower driving on the super speedways, and he's now up there up near the top 5 in the car owner points.
Dean Roper out early, and right now up front it's Bob Hill in the number 46 car. Here comes Bowser taking a look at him, and a good race going on for third position right now as Gary Bradbury's on the outside of Bob Keselowski. You can't race out there, Ron. There's no room for 2 lanes.
It's not that often that you'll see cars go too wide and stay right there in placement all the way through a turn and down the front stretch and down the back stretch, but these guys are doing it. Maybe nobody told Gary Bradbury you're not supposed to do that.
As we've watched Gary Bradbury throughout the season, we've realized that he's a driver that likes to go on the outside. That's really the way he won the race at Flat Rock Speedway earlier in the season, by passing everyone on the outside where you're not supposed to race. But it's not very often that you can get away with that on one of these mile dirt tracks.
We saw a couple of cars having problems there. Didn't pick up the idea on one of them, but the other car, the purple and blue car, was Jim Hurlburt, veteran competitor from Mahomet, Illinois. Jim was severely injured in a race at Daytona Speedway. It was actually a qualifying consolation race to the Daytona 500, at least 10 years ago. He's made his comeback, and he now competes very infrequently, but he's he's still out there and racing. Jim Hurlburt from Mahomet, Illinois. He's in the pit area now.
4 cars have broken away a little bit from the rest of the pack, and it's Bob Hill up front with Bowser in tow. It's a Chevrolet, then a Ford, then a Chrysler, then a Buick. So all kinds of different car makes here in the ARCA SuperCar Series. A good run for these front 4 cars up there as here comes Bradbury to put a pressure again once on Bob Keselowski.
Bob Hill just having his way at the moment. He's got a mirror full, though. Look at Bowser close in going into that 3rd turn area. Bobby seems to be able to drive his car a little deeper into the turns, and I think that 2nd, 3rd, 4th are now gaining a little bit on Bob Hill. See the track turning black, and the track turns more toward a pavement type of surface the longer the race goes on. It gets packed in, and some rubber gets put down on that clay. It starts out as a dirt track with a lot of cushion and a lot of dirt track techniques, and it turns into a mile paved track over the course of the day, the drivers will tell you.
One of the big advantages of the groove in this race, which may be helping Gary Bradbury stay on the outside, is that they ran some of the weekly competitive shows here when we've got the late models and the street stockers out there earlier today. Bob Sargent, the promoter of this race, bringing some of his local guys out, and that may have helped bring the groove in. Here we got a good race coming down the front straightaway as the leaders go by Mark Thompson in number 66.
And as Bob Keselowski moves up on the rear deck lid of Bob Hill, we saw Gary Bradbury riding that outside cushion, and he took it a little too far there coming out of turn 4, and the car broke loose and got out into the marbles, as they say, and it slid up on him. And now Keselowski to the inside down the backstretch to move on Bob Hill from Story City, Iowa. Keselowski may be your next lap leader.
From Rochester Hills, Michigan, it's the Winnebago Chrysler of Bob Keselowski. Remember, just 1 year ago, he won this race here at Springfield, Illinois for his only victory of 1994. More ARCA SuperCar Series racing coming your way when we return to Springfield. Don't go away. Welcome back to Springfield. While we were in break, the caution came out for car number 36, Jerry Huffman, who stalled on the backstretch.
And you see the cars who have pitted now coming up there to the stop. That's a stop-and-go ARCA official. He holds up a sign that says you have to stay there or you can flow into traffic. This is so the cars who have made a pit stop do not pull back out too quickly and pick up a lap on the field. And there's all your front-running leaders. You see them having pitted. 39, Dave Weltmeyer, we haven't called his name yet today. There's Ben Torini in 25, Marvin Smith in car number 1, and Steve Kosiski still back in there.
Steve Kosiski, a driver that we normally would see running right up front as we see the 1 lap to go indication coming up there. The white flag is out. Steve Kosiski led a lot of the laps here last year at Springfield, qualified right up front, but today it seems like maybe their car is just off a little bit.
Steve Kosiski is one of the 3 Kosiski Racing brothers, Ed, Steve, and Joe. Joe has run some ARCA SuperCar races as well. Those guys run the NASCAR Busch All-Star Dirt Circuit in the Midwest. They're in Nebraska and Iowa and Illinois, and they're very, very successful on that series. Steve Kosiski tried to win the Indiana State Fairgrounds race. He tried a last-ditch effort to pass Kenny Schrader right at the end of the race, bounced off the guardrail and finished 2nd. So he's somebody we look to run strong, and another guy we look to run strong is up front right now, and that's Ken Rowley in the yellow and red car number 27, a real veteran of these mile dirt tracks.
This is a group of guys that come out just for a few races a year, but boy, when they do it strong, and the fans will be on their feet as we get ready to go racing once again, because Ken Rowley from just up the road here, and a lot of people rooting for him today. Boy, Mark Anderson getting a little bit antsy there as he got ahead of the leader. Mark Anderson making a jump on the start there. The leader is number 27, Ken Rowley.
Well, you got to wonder in your own mind if he's not going to be called in for a little conference. He was a lapped car lined up on the inside, and he's supposed to stay next to the race leader who is on the outside until they get the green flag. It looked like Mark might have eased off a little before he should have there.
Yeah, he got the jump on it, that's for sure, so we'll keep our eye on the number 6 car, whether they call in Mark Anderson or not. The car is getting back into single file going into turn 3 and 4 as they come back out of the straightaway. Boy, Rowley has moved it up now put the pressure on Mark Anderson. Here comes Ken Rowley, and a great run for Donnie LeDuc in number 55, currently running 2nd.
Donnie LeDuc, Clinton Township, Michigan, the hometown for him, and he's really doing well. Now, running 3rd in the race, although he's 4th on your screen, is the car number 10 of Glenn Brewer. And it's no surprise. Glenn Brewer runs very well on these mile dirt tracks. Almost won a race here at Springfield, ran out of gas at the end of the race. Rowley now to put a lap back down on Mark Anderson, looking underneath him.
Mark Anderson getting out of shape in turn number 3, and boy, he got a piece of the wall there. Man, this kid was really trying hard to stay up front of the leaders there and maybe just tried a little bit too hard. And some big pieces coming off of that race car over in turn 4. So we're under caution again here at Springfield. And Mark Anderson has made contact with the wall. Very heavy contact. Yellow flag is out once again.
Well, he sure did. He just tried to take it in there a little too hard. He didn't want to go back a lap down. You saw him getting jumpy on the restart. And he's a young driver, and he'll learn that. But he sure did back her in that time.
So Mark Anderson brings out the caution, and we keep our eye on the leader now. Ken Rowley going to the pits in the car number 27. To the attention of his crew, the Littleton Brothers team takes a look at the right side tires. We're going to take a commercial break and be back to Springfield after this. Prime Network coverage of the ARCA SuperCar Series at the Illinois State Fairgrounds in Springfield continues. We take a look at the car number 6 of Mark Anderson coming in the hook, and here's your SK Tools field summary for your top 5.
Bob Keselowski runs 5th. He's won 4 times here. Todd Kuhn with a great run up in 4th. Jeff McClure runs 3rd. Ed Dixon, first ever start on this series, runs 2nd. Your leader, somewhat of a surprise, Donnie LeDuc, the veteran from Michigan, leading this 100-mile race at the Illinois State Fairgrounds.
The green flag is back out. Ken Rowley goes to the pits, which forfeits the lead to Donnie LeDuc. LeDuc brings the number 55 down into turn 1. The car is starting to fan in there to turn 1, and a lot of single file racing here on the restart.
We saw a little 3-wide race in there too, and you definitely can't go 3-wide. You can go 2-wide, as Marvin Smith is showing you in the orange car number 1 there. Whoop, he gets kicked to the outside of the cushion, and he'll have to back out of it a little bit.
Dave Weltmeyer in the Pedigree Food for Dogs Chevrolet in the number 39. He's trapped down to the inside there as a lap car is in the way. On the outside, it's Bill Venturini keeping the 39 stuffed in there. So traffic, certainly a hassle today as they get back to restarts. Now that lapped car of Dennis English getting out of the way, leaving Weltmeyer to go about his business.
You see Jim Elliott and John Wilkinson also making their way around that car. Cars very slow as they come out of the pit area. You saw the car down in the inside guardrail of the racetrack. They come out of the pits and have to stay very low going into that turn 1, because all the fast cars want to dive right down and hug that guardrail when they go through the turns here at the mile dirt tracks.
An incredible amount of cars still on the lead lap here, so good competition today in the 100-lapper. Just a few cars out. We mentioned Jim Hurlburt, who retired. Also, Jerry Huffman is now listed as out of the race. He had a belt come off of some part on the motor, so Huffman out. But right now we're keeping our eye up front as Bob Keselowski, who has led this race already, making his move back up through the field.
At the 1/4 mark of the race, the 25-lap mark, there were still 28 cars on the lead lap. So indeed a very competitive race. We named some of those guys on the SK Tool field summary that maybe we hadn't said much about earlier in the race. A lot of those guys worked their way up as the leaders pitted, and now it's Keselowski moving to the inside, and he'll make the pass right there on Jeff McClure.
That's Ed Dixon there in the number 50 car that Keselowski just went around. Dixon running in the top 5, and as you said, this is a guy who has a lot of experience on dirt, Ron, but not in these big ARCA supercars.
He's a many-time dirt late model short track champion in the Illinois and Missouri area. He's actually from Washington, Missouri, making his first start, but again, a very veteran guy. He's kind of learning his way around a 3,400-pound stock car here today at Springfield.
Those guys had hoped to be ready to go to the Indiana race over in Indianapolis, but they just didn't have the car together, so today their first outing on the 1-mile dirt tracks. Donnie LeDuc leads this race in the number 55 car, and he's doing quite a good job keeping out in front.
Donnie LeDuc doing a fine job. This is actually only the 2nd time in his whole ARCA career that he's led an ARCA SuperCar Series race, and worked his way up nicely and actually has pulled out to a pretty good lead. That's a family operation. His mom and dad and brothers and everybody's really involved in Donnie LeDuc's racing effort. And now you see a guy coming up right behind him from very nearby his hometown. Bob Keselowski and Donnie LeDuc kind of crosstown neighbors on the north side of Detroit, Michigan. I should mention that Larry LeMay, who is a real veteran crew chief, has helped Donnie LeDuc quite a bit with this Oldsmobile.
Tech 3 Prototypes, the sponsor on the number 55, and in the mirror right now is the Gallianos and Winnebago Chrysler of Bob Keselowski moving up now. Keselowski getting through the field rather quickly, and now it looks like he's going to put some pressure on Donnie LeDuc.
Keselowski, again, a 4-time winner here at Springfield. He won this race in 1986, 87, and 88, and now he's looking to take the lead for the 2nd time here this afternoon. You could tell some of the drivers who have been in this race and done well earlier in time trials, the crowd really reacted to local drivers, guys like Ken Rowley and Ed Dixon, and to the guys who are veterans of this race, Bob Keselowski and Bobby Bowser, guys like that.
One guy that's certainly not a veteran to ARCA dirt racing, but is doing a great job, is Gary Bradbury. As we now see, it's lap 41, and back to the lead this time by will be Bob Keselowski. He kind of rooster tails it there coming out of turn 4.
Well, I think Bradbury wants to stay as close as he can to Keselowski, maybe pick something up, but in addition, not let him get away. And they made pretty quick work of Donnie LeDuc. Now you see Bradbury, he wants to, if he can, he wants to try to run down Bob Keselowski, and you got to hand it to Bradbury. First time he's ever been to this racetrack, and he's right in there.
2 times in 1994, we've seen this team from Chelsea, Alabama go to victory lane. Gary Bradbury won at the Five Flag Speedway in Pensacola, racing on the outside of that track, and he did the same thing at Flat Rock Speedway. An incredible story there where he had his rig stolen early in the morning, just got a few laps of practice, started 17th, and moved his way up through the field and went to victory lane. So it's been a real good season for this rookie contender, currently leading the STP and Prestone Rookie of the Year award.
There's Bob Hill moving to the inside of, I'll get it right this time, Ed Dixon. Just ahead of them, Jody Guerra. What a great run for those guys. He and his car owner, Dan Faldorf, the J.D. Dankin construction team, just absolutely demolished a race car at Kilcare Speedway. It was the only car that they had. They've dropped back 10, got themselves another car, done a lot of work with it, brought it here ready to race, and right there he is in the yellow car. It's Jody Guerra from Dayton, Ohio, having a good run.
A good-looking team and a good-looking car and a good run for Jody Guerra. As we move back through the field just a little bit, we see one of those guys that races right out of his neighborhood from the Dayton, Ohio area, from Springfield, actually. It's Bobby Bowser, the guy who has won here at Springfield. Actually, that was just 2 years ago. He makes a move around Ed Dixon.
And you can tell just by watching, Ed wants to keep that car down to the bottom, and that's a key here at Springfield, is to stay to the bottom if you can. It's a fast way around this racetrack. Ed kicks up just a little bit, and those guys who have their cars where they can stay right up against the guardrail are able to pass him. I believe we have Roger Blackstock, one of the point chasers, top 10 point guy, pitting here at Springfield.
Roger's had a lot of problems with that car overheating just recently. That may be his problem here as a lot of dirt gets kicked up. And we have a car that's spun over in turn number 4, and I believe it is Chet Blanton in the 00 car. Yes, from Plainfield, Indiana, is Chet Blanton in car 00.
Well, that's a tough break for Chet Blanton. He had a 4th place finish at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. And speaking of tough breaks, here's Roger. He definitely is overheating. You see Ronnie Keys and the guys going to work on Blackstock Pontiac.
A lot of water squirting out of the windshield there, and some other cars coming to the pit area. There goes Ed Dixon in. We see Todd Kuhn and Bill Venturini making their way into the pit area. Venturini coming to the assistance of his crew, and Todd Kuhn on his way in. A good run for Todd Kuhn from Peoria today in the number 69 car.
Todd had a great run at I-70 Speedway here, and you saw Andy Farr also parked in the pit area.
Back with more action at Springfield in just a moment. Don't go away. Welcome back to the Alan Crowe Memorial 100 ARCA SuperCar race on the 1-mile dirt track at Springfield, Illinois. Ray Dunlap and Ron Drager bringing you the broadcast today. We've got our eyes right now on Frank Kimmel from Jeffersonville, Indiana, and you notice the hood has been taken off the number 02 car, which is owned by Terry Shirley. Ron, we see the white flag coming out now. We're 1 lap away from going back to green.
60 laps complete in this 100 lapper on the mile track, and we still have 17 cars on the lead lap. Some of these guys are back there, and we haven't even mentioned them today. We'd like to try to give you a rundown on the lead lap cars. Bob Keselowski and Gary Bradbury, of course, Marvin Smith, Bobby Bowser, Bob Hill, Dave Weltmeyer, Jody Guerra, Billy Thomas, Mike Fry, Todd Kuhn, Eric Smith, Donnie LeDuc, Bill Venturini, the 65 of Jim Elliott, Steve Kosiski, Frank Kimmel, and Glenn Brewer. All those cars still in the lead lap here.
Lots of cars in contention today. We haven't said anything about Billy Thomas today, but you got to keep your eye on the car number 22. Last year he won at DuQuoin, so certainly a contender here today. Lots of those guys up front. Bill Venturini, Dave Waltmeyer. You can't count any of these guys out until that checkered flag falls. Right now it's Keselowski up front as we see a little bit of pressure being put on there as we get ready to go back to green flag racing. The green flag is in the air and we're off racing again.
That was the pressure. That was Gary Bradbury, the Chelsea, Alabama driver, said, we got to go. Let's get going. He gave Bob a friendly little tap, said, let's get on the hammer and get going, pull away from these guys if we can.
A lot of cars going too wide as they enter into turn 1. They go out of turn 2 in single file, though. That's the easiest way until you get back up to speed, and they're at that point now with Keselowski leading. Second place is Gary Bradbury. Here comes Bob Hill and Bowser all right there in the thick of this one.
I think sometimes it's deceiving. We think that we're on a dirt track and we're not going that fast. These cars are averaging better than 100 miles an hour down the middle of the straightaways, and these are long straightaways, 120, 130 mile an hour. So the cars are indeed moving, and when they get out of shape and hit a fence, they tear them up pretty well.
It's a little bit deceiving from way up atop here of the grandstand with 17,000 plus fans on hand today. A good crowd in the stands and in the infield watching ARCA SuperCar competition. Today is event number 17 of 21 races in the 1994 season. And Ron, we've got to talk about Bobby Bowser and his incredible commanding points lead in this season.
Absolutely unbelievable. 15 events in the books. Bobby Bowser has finished in the top 5 in 12 of them. He's been in the top 5 in all but 3 of the races completed to date. That's just almost unbelievable.
Call it the dream season, if you will, for Bobby Bowser. Already has won the ARCA SuperCar Series Championship, looking for number 2 this season, and really, without an incredible amount of misfortune, he's got her locked up as we just have 4 events remaining. Lap number 60, and Gary Bradbury has made the move around Bob Keselowski.
Indeed he did, and you saw him pull to the inside down the backstretch going into turn 3. He had the inside of the racetrack. Keselowski allowed him room to make the pass, and indeed he's got the lead now. Let's see if Gary Bradbury is going to just be able to stay in front or if he's able to stretch it out. Third, you see Bob Hill and Bobby Bowser in 4th there just behind him.
In 5th position, it's Marvin Smith in car number 1, the Riverside Auto Parts car owned by Jim Coyle. And Marvin really coming up there to give these guys a run for their money. We'll have to see if he's able to get in there and fight with these 2 leaders up front.
Marvin Smith, a real veteran stock car racer, driving a car whose owner has won 4 ARCA National Championships as a car owner. Jim Coyle we're referring to. He's a Columbus, Ohio businessman. He owns the Riverside Auto Parts. And Jim Coyle owned cars driven to championships in 1978 and 79 by Marvin Smith. Also owned cars driven to championships in 1985 and 86 by Lee Raymond of Dayton, Ohio. Interestingly enough, the crew chief on all those cars, Jerry Guerra, the father of Jody Guerra, who we've been talking about earlier in the broadcast. The crew chief on this car today is Marvin's brother, Carl Smith.
Carl Smith certainly no stranger to ARCA competition. We'll watch Marvin Smith and see if he's able to come up there and give a challenge to Bobby Bowser and move up through this field. Up front currently, it's number 78 of Gary Bradbury, and what a strong race car he has today here, Ron, running in front of Bob Keselowski, who really knows his way around this 1-mile dirt track.
Yeah, you got the milk-cheeked rookie and the grizzled veteran right there. You see Bradbury, who has never been to this racetrack before, and Keselowski, who has won 4 times here with just literally hundreds of miles of experience on this race course.
So you've got a rookie up front, the veteran there, then another rookie in the back, Bob Hill, who just now has run, this is his 4th ARCA dirt race.
We got a smoker here. We can see the smoke that the drivers are trying to make their way through on the speedway.
I believe that's Mike Buckley in car number 48 who's putting out some smoke on the racetrack. We'll see if the leaders get up here to make a pass on him. He's apparently under power pretty well, and yes, it is Mike Buckley with some smoke coming out of that car there. Gary Bradbury kind of leans to the outside there. We'll have to see if they can stay in the racing groove, and Keselowski gets her a little bit loose coming out of turn 4. Notice how he fights the wheel when he gets out of turn 4 back down the front straightaway.
Sure does. We take a look at Buckley there. He's from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and interesting, he's a former crew guy on Bob Keselowski's car. He was a street stock driver in the Detroit area, came to work with Keselowski as a crew member. He said, man, I think I'd like to drive one of these things.
We see the leaders going around number 12, Roger Blackstock, back into the race now, but he continues to have those overheating problems. So we'll see where Roger Blackstock is able to stay out the rest of the race today or not. Up front, it's Bradbury, then Keselowski, Hill, and Bowsher's the way it stays, and Marvin Smith now dropping back a little bit away from those top 4 runners.
Keselowski not afraid to allow his car to get a little bit out of shape. He's kind of letting it float out there, and if it wants to kick around a little bit, he's going to let it do that. That's the way he can get around the track the fastest. That's the way he's going to let the car go.
I remember a very interesting story from 1 year ago here at Springfield when Bob Hill won the pole. He was driving Kenny Schrader's car, and we did an interview with him for the pole on the PA, and he didn't know what to say. He says, I had no idea we'd be able to do this, didn't know my abilities or the car would be able to put me up front, and he was just ecstatic. Of course, middle part of the race there, he got out of control in turn number 3 and crashed the car very, very hard. But today, he's certainly got a good car under him, one that is owned by Larry Clement from out in Fort Dodge, Iowa.
The red car 78, Gary Bradbury, is your race leader. Bob Keselowski in the black 29 runs second. Bradbury, his father Charles Bradbury, the car owner, they came to the ARCA series from the NASCAR Slim Jim All-Pro Late Model Series. You see them putting a lap on Scotty Sands. He's driving a car that's owned by his father Bobby, crew chief by Ray Benson. Talking about Keselowski and Bradbury now running up front. And Gary Bradbury has really done very well. A lot of people, I think, knew he was going to be competitive, but didn't look for him to be quite this competitive. His first time visiting all these racetracks, first time on the circuit.
Both of his wins early in this part of the 94 season were crew chief by Grady Humphreys. Then Grady went away, did some work with Tim Steele, now not active as a crew chief in the ARCA SuperCar series, and Gary continues to do well, so a lot of that certainly can be valued on the ability he has behind the steering wheel there in that race car. Here comes Bob Hill, who currently runs third in that red and white number 46.
Bob Hill, your third place car. You saw Bobby Bowser, just a glimpse of him running in fourth in the Quality Farm and Fleet Ford. And they're moving up on Mark Thompson. That's Mark Thompson in the Mike Brandt crew chief car. Once again, putting a lap on that vehicle.
Mark Thompson, known mostly for his super speedway racing in ARCA competition, but with his business schedule, he just loves to get out and race anytime he can when he can get away. Here comes Keselowski. He's got to go to the outside of Thompson, and boy, Gary Bradbury is making a move. Ooh. Look how closely he cuts it off in front of 06 Dennis English from down in Kentucky. Boy, Dennis probably didn't even know he was coming.
Dennis probably knew he was there. He thought he's going to have an opportunity to rub fenders with the leader. He thought he'd just take his chance right there going into turn 1 in front of the grandstands.
Gary Bradbury putting on a great show for the fans here in Springfield, Illinois. A 1-mile dirt track, and this is the second of 3 dirt races in the 94 season for the ARCA SuperCar series. Of course, this group of drivers probably the most diverse in the entire country, as they have to compete on all kinds of different surfaces. In 1994, we went to Des Moines, Iowa, and ran a street race. We run on the quarter-mile pavement tracks all around the country, and as big a track as 2.66 miles at Talladega, and of course these 3 dirt races. So a very diverse season in 1994.
I'm going to tell you what, we can't see it right now on the screen, but Gary Bradbury is running like a scalded dog. He has just pulled away and left Bob Keselowski, and that's saying a lot because Keselowski is strong on this racetrack.
All of these drivers have pitted. Bob Keselowski, Bradbury. Oh boy, look out. Number 1, Marvin Smith, out of control in turn number 4, pulls it right in front. Look at Jody Guerra having to take evasive action. All of these drivers doing a fabulous job to keep the cars on the track, and Mark Thompson says, hold on, let me away from that deal. Boy, Marvin Smith was really out of shape in turn 4.
Yeah, you see Dave Weltmeyer in the Pedigree Food for Dogs, the yellow car, number 39, fielded by the Rulo brothers. But Marvin Smith used up every inch of that racetrack from the inside guardrail to the outside just to bring that car back under control that lap.
He has had a really good handling car, but that time it was every ounce of energy that he could use to get that car back under control. Taking a look back up front again, here goes your leader, Gary Bradbury, again around Roger Blackstock.
Bradbury picking him up and putting him down. His car is very good underneath him. He's really pulled away now, and this may be the biggest lead we've seen here all day. Bradbury looking to have things well under control past the 2/3 mark of this race.
He's just about to put a lap right now on John Wilkinson, who was the 4th place qualifier, and the yellow flag is out. My goodness, Gary Bradbury has wrecked over in turn 4, car number 78 into the wall, just as the yellow had come out for a car that is stalled over in the turn. I can't believe this, Ron. The leader has crashed in turn 4. Gary Bradbury certainly will be out of the race after this significant damage to his car.
Boy, he impacted that outside wall with a very hard shot. Your race leader, Gary Bradbury, stuck in the fence now. You see the right front portion of the car really piled up.
Welcome back to Springfield, Illinois, ladies and gentlemen. An incredible turn of events here as Gary Bradbury, the race leader, crashes after Glenn Brewer had gotten sideways up in the turn. Ron, here's a slow motion from a different angle. We see that the stalled car was in the way, and Gary Bradbury tried to go to the outside, and apparently it just looked like he had no brakes.
What you had, the caution had already come out, and I believe that Gary's view was obstructed by the car that he was attempting to lap there, and he just didn't see the 10 car sitting on the bottom of the racetrack.
Now, you wonder why the 10 car is facing the wrong direction. They hauled it in on a wrecker, and they're just putting gas in it. He was out of gas is why he spun around up there in the turn. So an incredible turn of events here as Gary Bradbury has dominated the late stages of this race. Take a look at your SK Tools field summary. Bob Keselowski, now your leader. Hill, Bowser, also Marvin Smith. And look, Dave Weltmeyer has moved his way up into the top 5 in the pedigree Food for Dogs Chevrolet.
Indeed, that car fielded by the Rulo brothers is always a contender just about anywhere we go with these ARCA SuperCar Series cars. So when we go back to green here, as you can see, the lead lap cars are on the outside, the lapped cars are on the inside. So those on the outside will be your leading cars in your screen right now. Bob Keselowski in the black 29, Bob Hill in white 46, Bobby Bowser in the red and white 21. And I believe you can pick up just a little bit of Marvin Smith and Dave Weltmeyer's cars there.
Look at the pressure from Bob Hill as he gets a nose once again on Keselowski. It says, let's go racing. Hill makes a move to the inside. We're back underway. The closing stages of today's Alan Crowe Memorial 100 lapper, and boy, it's a dandy.
That's probably one of the hottest spots on the racetrack is on a restart going into turn 1. It reminds you of Pocono International Raceway where you have that really long straightaway and guys get 5, 6, 7 wide and then they've got to funnel down in and make it through that turn. That's what it looks like here as the people in the grandstands are getting a great show.
Less than 20 laps to go in today's competition on the ARCA SuperCar Series, and one of the strongest cars all day, as he usually is on the dirt, Bob Keselowski in the Winnebago number 29.
Bob was the leader at the halfway point. He picked up another Broadway Motors Halfway Leader Award for having done that in the Chrysler LeBaron. Ron Keselowski is the crew chief on the car, also listed as the car owner. It's kind of interesting because these guys have been in racing basically all their lives. Their father, John Keselowski, was an ARCA driver. He drove Chrysler cars back as early as 1959, 60, 61. And these guys, Ron and Bob, who are now adults, were just kind of scurrying around, helping their dad out, sneaking into the pits, that type of thing. Ron Keselowski was a NASCAR Grand National, what we now know as a Winston Cup Series driver, in the late 60s and early 70s, and his younger brother Bob, then only in his late teens, was his crew chief. Later on in their careers, they decided to swap. Ron became the crew chief car owner, Bob the driver, and they cast their lot in 1985 with the ARCA SuperCar Series, thinking maybe this is what we want to try to do. And now, entering their 9th season, they are the leading team in terms of victories, poles, laps led. They basically have accomplished anything they really set out to do as far as being a front-running team in this ARCA SuperCar Series. They won the 1989 Series championship as well.
Former champion Bob Keselowski having one of his worst seasons in 1994. They started finished 40th at Daytona after wrecking early, 41st at Talladega, and really were ready to throw in the towel early, but that's not the kind of character these guys have. And finally, they're back up front again where we see them many times. The Winnebago Chrysler, Bob Keselowski kind of has this one in hand so far today, but a little bit of pressure still there from Bob Hill.
And if you want to talk about a guy that's had a flip side of the Keselowski's frustrating season, that's Bobby Bowser. Jack Bowser, the car owner, he was a 3-time driving champion on the ARCA Series in 1963, 4, and 5. Bobby's brother Gary is the crew chief. His brother Todd also helps out, as does Jack Jr. These guys have fielded a car that has been unbelievably dependable And a lot of times when you think about a guy that kind of just gets out there and makes a lot of laps, they're not normally a front-running car. Bobby Bowser has led 11 different races this year.
Only 2 wins in '94 for the Quality Farm and Fleet Ford team, but boy, look at all the top 5s and all the top 10s, and that's the way to win a championship. And Bowser certainly on his way to doing that once again in 1994. Bob Keselowski continues to lead here on the 1-mile dirt track at Springfield, Illinois. Ray Dunlap and Ron Drager bringing you ARCA Racing. Certainly glad to have you with us on the Prime Network. 3 more races coming your way throughout the season. The next race will be at the DuQuoin State Fairgrounds, a track very similar to this one, a 1-mile dirt track. Then we'll be off to the short tracks once again as we go to the Toledo Speedway for a short track. Then it's to Salem and Winchester on the high-banked half mile. So lots more good ARCA Supercar racing coming your way right here on Prime.
The bigger picture on this race, talking about guys that were on the lead lap, we talked about 17 cars on the lead lap previously. We lost a couple of those guys, and we saw that happen. Gary Bradbury, your leader, went off into the fence, and Glenn Brewer had a problem, stopped on the bottom of the racetrack, had to make a pit stop. But other than that, all those same cars are still on the lead lap here as we wind down toward the end of this race on the mile dirt track here at Springfield.
We haven't seen them in a frame a lot today, but continuing to run in the top 10 are Bill Venturini and Frank Kimmel, regulars on the season. So those guys certainly hoping to do some good for their points chase, along with John Wilkinson. And Ron, we've got to make mention of one car that's not in the field today, and that's the number 37 Target Expediting Ford of Bob Strait. Those guys staying home and not coming to race in ARCA competition today. One of those cars that oftentimes you'd find up front on a 1-mile dirt track.
Yeah, that's the first race that Jim Spicuzza, the car owner, has missed probably since like 1990 or 91, back when Ben Hess was driving for him when he first came on the series. So absence of the 37 car here today, but up front it's another black car, the 29.
No one will ever forget that incredible finish right here at Springfield 2 years ago when Bobby Bowser made that last lap pass on Ben Hess driving the number 37. Hess went into turn 3 and got it loose in the marbles, and I think the fans are still shaking from that one.
That was one of those deals. It looked real similar to Gary Bradbury. It just got a little bit too high. The car got away from underneath him and got up into that loose stuff, and it just skids away, and everybody drives underneath you. Bobby Bowser said he felt like it was a parting of the Red Sea, man. It just opened up, and he just stayed right on a guardrail and drove past him.
We'll see if Bowser can do it again today, have the luck fall on his side as Bob Keselowski continues to lead in car number 29. A great race for these guys from Rochester Hills, Michigan. Don't count out Bob Hill. And I'll tell you, Dave Weltmeyer doing a nice job now moving the Pedigree Food for Dogs Chevrolet up into the top 5.
Another lead lap car. We haven't had an opportunity to see that. Oh, and we got a spin. Car to fence.
John Wilkinson from Hueytown, Alabama. Ron, there's only 6 laps remaining in this race. Lap 94 as John Wilkinson has looped it. We see that he does get the car fired once again and will be ready to get back in line over there in turn number 4. But a caution coming out here with just 6 laps to go, but it's going to be a quick one. The white flag is out.
Indeed, you see the pace car with the lights going out on the car on top of it, and your leaders are all stacked up. That'll make it good and interesting. If anybody has anything for race leader Bob Keselowski, who has led since lap 76, winding down toward the 100th mile, 100th lap, this would be the time to show it. Time is running out. Now the guys have got one more chance to get right up behind him, and if you can make a run at him, right here's the time to do it.
You know, you would think that maybe 1 or 2 of these cars that are on the lead lap would have ducked in for a quick set of tires to try to make a run on him, but the important thing here is track position, and you've got so many cars on the lead lap now, with 14 cars still stacked up on that outside row there's just no way to move up and get track position if you'd go in and pit.
Too many cars to pass with too few laps left. Nobody takes the opportunity to pit. You just can't get enough of an advantage by pitting.
Look at that break between Bob Hill and Bob Keselowski, and here comes Bobby Bowser, who gets a good run on the restart. Marvin Smith currently running in 4th, and Hill makes a look at at Keselowski, looking to the outside, but they're back to single file.
We're just going to be able to see who can keep the car down on the bottom of the racetrack, I think, because the pass is going to have to be to the outside, and that's where Bob Hill is looking. Hill is looking to the outside. Can I go on the outside if I need to, like it's looking like I'm going to have to?
Keselowski hugs it to the inside curve there in car number 29. 46 is second. That's a Chevrolet. On the front, it's a Chrysler, then a Ford, then another Chevrolet. So a good run of the car makes here. Here goes Hill, takes a look to the inside, coming down the front straightaway, but Keselowski once again ducks it inside.
I think Keselowski is just running his line, running his race, and he's telling Bob Hill, look, I'm going to be where I'm going to be. If you want to pass me, you're going to have to figure it out where you can do it.
And Bob Hill takes a look to the outside once again. Keselowski is slowing on the backstretch. Car number 29, listen to the fans as Keselowski has slowed. He picks it back up now. Bowser to the outside in the Quality Farm and Fleet Ford. He's on the outside of Keselowski. Keselowski is slowing. Look at this. Bob Hill is going to come down to take the white flag. Keselowski, I think, is out of fuel.
White flag is out, and I'd say either an ignition problem or maybe a fuel pickup. You saw him pick speed back up, but he couldn't keep it going. And now Bob Hill inherits the lead. He was pressuring him, but boy, what a tough break for Bob Keselowski. He hasn't won in over a year now. He won this race a year ago.
Keselowski has led 49 laps, almost half of the race today, and drops out on the white flag lap. We'll see if he's able to finish. Bob Hill comes around from Story City, Iowa, driving for Larry Clement in this Chevrolet, car number 46. Is Bowser going to be able to make a run on him? No way. Bob Keselowski will not win it today, but Bob Hill will. He goes to victory lane in the Chevrolet in the Alan Crowe Memorial 100, and we'll be back to recap this one in a moment. City, Iowa wins his first ARCA SuperCar Series race in the Alan Crowe Memorial 100. Thanks a lot for joining us today, and a special thanks goes out to Winnebago Motorhomes, the official motorhome of the ARCA SuperCar Series. I'm Ray Dunlap, along with Ron Drager, bringing you ARCA competition. We'll see you next time right here on the Prime Network.